What's poppin'? We got the house history class, man. Happy Corona break to y'all.
You know what it is. Go ahead, like and subscribe to the channel. This is where you finna learn about the history. You feel me? Tune in.
Straight like that.
So the next thing we're going to talk about is FDR. He's going to be elected. The Great Depression is fully about. I talked to you about President Hoover. He does not necessarily want to get involved. He's keeping this hands-off, laissez-faire approach, where he believes, the government is not responsible for handling the issues of the people. And FDR is going to be this first president that is really going to say, you know what, the government is going to provide some assistance to you. But I do want to be clear before I even progress. A lot of people, I'm about to talk to you about FDR and the New Deal. A lot of people claim that the New Deal is the thing that took the United States out of the Great Depression. That is not true. That is simply not true at all. Anybody that tells you that is not true. The thing that is going to eventually take the United States out of the Great Depression is going to be, drum roll, World War II. So do not confuse World War II and the Great Depression as far as pulling us out of. This wartime economy that we get into in World War II is going to be the thing that really propels us to have this driving force of getting out of the Great Depression, because it's going to be pretty simple. People are going to have to get put to work. Unemployment is going to go down. People get more money. Boom. It's going to be fixed. Not necessarily that fast, but that's essentially how it goes. So the first thing I'm going to talk to you is about the New Deal. 3 parts that you need to know. So the New Deal is going to be based off the fact of relief, recovery, reform. Okay, so relief is going to mean fix it now. Recovery is going to be fix it later, and reform is going to be fix it so it doesn't happen again. And every little New Deal program that's going to come out, every little thing about that is going to be geared towards one of these 3 things. The idea is the government has something in place that is going to help the American people, and that is going to help pull the United States out of this Great Depression. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about a couple relief programs first. The number one thing you need to know about relief programs, there's only really necessarily one that you need to harp on, and that's going to be TVA, otherwise known as the Tennessee Valley Authority. So what that is they're going to have these rural places in Tennessee that do not have a whole lot of power. So what they're going to do is they're going to build these power plants essentially to get electricity to these people, and they're going to build them off rivers like dams. So I don't know if a lot of you know this, but hydroelectricity is a huge thing, especially with running water. So they're going to build these products, and the idea is you're going to have these stations that are going to pop up to build these things, but you're going to need people to run it, right? You're going to need people to work. So the idea is you're going to help these unemployment rates go down, because you're going to be requiring people to go to work and to fix these things. Well, this is great. This is a great idea. This is great when this all starts, but you got to remember, when these projects start to come to a close, it's going to be a problem due to the fact that these people are going to be out of work again. So it's not necessarily a direct end-all, be-all, fix-all type thing. It's just a primary solution to get some people to try to get this market spurred back up. Some recovery programs. You're going to have the Federal Deposit Insurance Commission, which is the FDIC. I'm just reading off my notes here. Securities and Exchange Act, which is the SEC. So the Federal Deposit Insurance Commission Act. So what this does is this is going to ensure your deposits in banks. So if some of you are like, why does this matter? Because remember, during the Great Depression, the banks failed. This is due to the fact that people weren't able to pay back their loan. The bank was not able to get that money. They're not able to circulate it. So boom, the banks fail. When a bank fails, when a bank is gone, if it ceases to exist, so does your money. So people, when they look at banks, they're going to be like, no, I'm not putting my money in there. But here's the problem. You need banks. Why do you need banks? Because you need the circulation of money that's good for the U.S. economy. So what this is going to do is that the federal government is going to guarantee you some money based on how much you put in there. So whatever you put in there is going to be covered by the FDIC, to make sure that you can have some more trust between the banks, because they understand how important the banks are to the U.S. economy. All right. The second one, the SEC, not the Southeastern Conference, which is completely overrated besides the West. But it's going to, supervise stock exchanges, meaning, when the Great Depression happened and the stock market crashed in 1929, this is because a lot of people are going to dump their stocks. And when they dump their stocks, the price of stocks go down. Well, There's a lot of insider trading, what we'd call it now, where essentially people were like, look, get out now, get out now, get out now. When you do that, there's no security in the stock market. So now, like for example, a lot of people try to make their money on something called day trading, which means you buy a stock in the morning or probably around noon, but buy a stock around noon and then you end up trading it during the day. Well, you're not going to be able to do that every day unless it's a certain amount. So now there's like limitations on how much you can, how many times can you day trade a week, or how many times can you day trade a month, or if you're not day trading or if you want to day trade more than that, then essentially you're going to have to pay a lot of money. I think it's like 20 grand or something like that of constant cycle. So they're tracking that. They're watching you. You hear people in the news all the time. Facebook, it happened to them, people get in trouble with Facebook and they start dumping all their shares. And like, well, why did you do that? Well, I knew Facebook was going to get in trouble. Well, you can't do that because it messes with the market. So the SEC is going to be the people that are going to be there to make sure that the market stays where it is. Some reform programs I'm going to talk about. You can have the Wagner Act and the Fair Labor Standards Act. So the Wagner Act is going to legalize collective bargaining, and you guys are like, what is collective bargaining? So collective bargaining is essentially, instead of, let's say, the example I use all the time when talking about collective bargaining is the school walkout. So I'm not saying it's a good idea, I'm not saying it's a bad idea, I'm saying it was an event, it was an issue, and it was addressed, and I think only like 7 people actually were the ones that are involved in this. But let me explain to you collective bargaining and how this works. So for the example, the school walkout. There's a saying called there is strength in numbers, meaning if you all being the students, because this is student driven, want to have a school walkout. So I think it's happened like, man, I guess I'm getting old, like 3 years ago. You all want to have a walkout. Okay, well guess what? If only 5 people get up at the designated time and walk out, that's not very powerful. All right, it's only 5 people. Administrators can handle that. I'm no way telling you how to, get around admin or anything like that. I'm just explaining. So if only 5 people get up, there's not a whole lot of power in that. But imagine if every student in that school got up. 2,400, however many kids we have, 32, get up, and you walk to the flagpole. Do you think that sends a larger message than 5? Definitely. So what the whole point of collective bargaining is, there's strength in numbers. So why is this again? Because of unions, because of right to work states. Like Georgia's a right to work state. So for teachers, there's no teacher union. Meaning we can't go on strike, can't do that because they would fire us. There are other states, like you'll see like Oklahoma, teachers are going on strike for higher pay. Well, the teacher union is the one that is driving this, and they're the one that's behind it. So they want collective bargaining because they want unions to come back, and they want unions because unions are supposed to be, they have the interest of the worker in mind. And the idea is they want to protect the worker, they want to provide equal opportunities for the worker, they want to provide avenues for the worker to be successful. And so that's, the Wagner Act. Now, Fair Labor Standards Act, this is going to set like a ban on child labor, which, yeah, you need that. They're going to set age limits. So like a lot of you will try to go to apply for a job, or maybe you had to wait to work somewhere until you were 16 or 17 or 18 or whatever it may be. But there's going to be like some sort of standard of you have to be this age to work this job. You can't be 12 working in a defense factory loading ammunition. No, you can't do that. And then the other thing it's going to do is going to set a minimum wage. So like the idea that you're going to get paid $7.25 an hour at minimum. It does not matter what you do. Now, obviously, we always have like the waitresses argument, and yeah, that's a little different. They do get paid on the hour, but obviously they get tips as well, so that's factored into their hourly. I want to talk about the impact of this new deal. So short term, like quickly, yeah, it's gonna be great. People are getting jobs. It's really, really good. But long term, it does not have the overall effect that that they need. And so I'm going to talk about something called the Second New Deal, and it's actually very interesting. So there was going to be getting ready to be the presidential election of 36. FDR, not a whole lot of people are very happy with him because he's got this new deal. It sounds good. He's implementing it, but really it's turning into a lot of government spending, and the U.S. economy has not recovered from it yet. The Second New Deal is going to be what's going to guarantee his second election as the United States president. And what this is going to do, this is like your Social Security, this is all of that. So It's going to win him his second term. And the reason he has it is he feels like the elderly and the disabled are not really gaining the benefits that are coming from the first New Deal. So what he's going to do is he's going to create this second New Deal, and it's going to be centered around those people. So the first thing is he's going to do with Social Security. Okay, so Social Security is a huge thing. What is it? Essentially, at a certain age, you get to retire, and the government is going to pay you. Now, let me go ahead and talk to you all about Social Security right now. Is it a good thing? Absolutely. But there's a lot of things that don't really get, I guess, told to you all, like you all may have never known. Here's number one. When you get a check, if you have a job, it's usually I go, how many of you have a job? And you raise your hand. And that's okay. At the end of the month, you actually get paid what your little hour said, and you go, no. And I go, why? And you go, because they take out taxes. And I'm like, tax on what? And you're like, Social Security. And I'm like, oh, what's that? And you're like, I don't know. Well, this is what it is. So Social Security Act is essentially you are paying for the retirement of the elderly. And you're like, why would I do that? Because, think about it, the more people that you are paying for retirement for, the less elderly people there are in your job field. So what it's doing is at a certain age, it's requiring, not requiring, but you're asking people to retire and get paid for that. And when they do that, it's going to free up a position that maybe a younger person, which could be yourself, gets to fill. So it's this idea that you're keeping the unemployment rate low. Now, your money, like the money that I pay for my taxes on Social Security, that does not go into a little nice little bank where it says Coach House Social Security, and when you turn really old, you get this money out of here. No, the money's gone. It's paying for the people now. So the people that are retired now are still getting that Social Security check from the government. And the other thing it's going to do, it's going to give you like unemployment insurance. It's going to be the aid for the dependent, the blind, or the disabled. And like I said, it's paid through your taxes. Now, while we're at FDR, I want to talk about Eleanor, which she's going to be the face of the presidency a lot, just because FDR is sick. He is wheelchair bound. They try the best to hide that. They do not want a whole lot of pictures of him in a wheelchair, but he is sick and he is wheelchair bound. And the idea, people are like, why do you not want pictures of him in a wheelchair? Who cares? Well, you got to understand, this is a time where, if you're the president of the United States, you are the face of the United States, and many people were concerned of what a picture of him in the wheelchair would do in the eyes of others for America, which, have your own opinion on that, however you want. But Eleanor is going to be the face of the presidency. She's huge when it talks about the advancement of women's rights and the role that they play within the presidency. Essentially, she's the gal that, when talking about presidents and why the president's wife, the first lady, has an agenda, it's because of her. So Michelle Obama, Mrs. Trump, all those people, they all have agendas that they try to do. Michelle Obama, most famously, probably for her, trying to get better food in the school systems and stuff like that. So that is where, her role plays, especially when FDR gets sick or he has to go to get certain treatment. She's going to be the face of the president during these times. There's going to be a guy by the name of Huey Long. And so Huey Long is going to be a governor from Louisiana. You need to know him because he wants to redistribute the wealth. He's running for Senate. He plans to run for presidential election of 36, but he's going to be assassinated. He wants to redistribute the wealth. That was his idea. He's saying there's too much of a wealth gap between the rich and the poor, the middle class. So he wants to redistribute the wealth. And some people liked this, some people didn't. He's going to be assassinated. A lot of people kind of look at FDR and they think he was responsible for his assassination. Not 100% sure, if that's true or not, but people love conspiracy theories when talking about history. The last thing I'm going to talk to you about is going to be the court packing scandal. So FDR is going to want to pass all these New Deal policies, and not a whole lot of people are always going to be on board with him doing that. And packing the court, what that means is he's going to look at the Supreme Court justices and he's going to want to change that number. Okay, he's going to want to bump it up. Now, why would he want to do that? Well, part of the reason he would want to do that is because he would get more people in there that agree with him, which is going to give him more power, which is going to get more of his bills tossed. He's also going to want to force certain judges to retire at 70 instead of fulfilling their life term again. So when they retire, he can put more people in there. But this is not going to get passed because of the fact that this is going to give the president too much power. And, they've learned their lesson, especially with people like Andrew Jackson and such, to, control kind of what's going on with his power and stuff like that. So it's not going to get passed. That's going to be where I stop. I think that's the end of your note packet. But what I'm going to go ahead and tell you is make sure you're checking the blog, you're doing all the stuff that I tell you. I promise you your grade will be greatly benefited from it. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And if not, make sure you're staying safe and you're quarantining, and hopefully things get a little better.
Thanks for watching History with House.
Don't forget to
Like,
comment,
and subscribe.